South Africa has entered a new era. For the first time since 1994, the ANC no longer holds a majority in parliament. The 2024 general elections delivered a historic shake-up that forced the former liberation giant into a government of national unity with ideological rivals like the DA and IFP. This isn't just political evolution, it's a full-scale transformation of South Africa's power structure. The age of one-party rule is over, and coalition politics is the new normal. But can such an uneasy alliance survive the country's growing social and economic pressures? We break it all down, unfiltered, uncompromising, and direct from the front lines of South Africa's political shake-up. South Africa has officially entered a new political chapter, and this one is unlike any before. The country that once trusted one party to lead it through democracy's birth now finds itself ruled by a coalition stitched together by compromise, fatigue, and electoral reality. After dominating the post-apartheid era for 30 years, the African National Congress has, for the first time, lost its majority in parliament. It's a fall that felt both sudden and inevitable, a moment that many feared, others welcomed, and now, all must navigate. With just over 40% of the vote in the 2024 general elections, the ANC was left with no choice but to enter into a government of national unity. That phrase, once a beacon of hope in the Mandela era, now returns as a symbol of necessity and deep political recalibration. Cyril Ramaphosa remains president, but not as the unquestioned leader of a dominant party. He now governs under a new reality, shared power with the Democratic Alliance, the Inkatha Freedom Party, and other smaller parties with their own interests, loyalties, and histories. For a generation raised under ANC rule, this is a political earthquake. For the opposition, it's an opportunity. For the country, it's both promise and risk, teetering between collaborative renewal and unworkable tension. The idea of coalition governance is not new in global politics. But in South Africa, it carries a particular weight. This is a nation where politics is deeply entwined with history, identity, and trauma. It's not just a matter of left versus right or liberal versus conservative. It's rural versus urban. Liberation legacy versus technocratic reform. Transformation versus efficiency. These are not easy contradictions to manage in a coalition, let alone in a fragile economy still bearing the scars of state capture, load shedding, and rising inequality. The ANC's decline did not happen overnight. It was a slow, visible erosion. Scandals, mismanagement, arrogance, and internal factionalism turned loyal supporters into skeptics and skeptics into critics. The promise of a better life for all became harder to sell when communities saw their taps run dry, their roads crumble, and the young people unemployed. The Zuma years were a turning point, but even after his exit, the trust deficit lingered. Ramaphosa's image as a clean-up man brought hope in 2019, but by 2024, voters were no longer interested in hope. They wanted results. And when results didn't come fast enough, they spoke through the ballot. So here we are. A coalition government now sits in parliament, and its first weeks have already revealed the complexity of its task. On paper, this government of national unity brings together a broad spectrum of ideology, from the ANC's social democratic roots to the DA's liberal market policies. At the IFP's cultural conservatism, the Good Party's civic reformism, and the Patriotic Alliance's populist energy, and what you get is a political cocktail strong enough to intoxicate, and potentially to explode. Inside the corridors of power, negotiations are ongoing. Every major decision is preceded by intense closed-door discussions. Cabinet positions are now bargaining chips. Policy direction is a product of trade-offs. And trust, the most valuable currency in a coalition, is in short supply. The DA, now wielding real national power for the first time, must walk a tightrope. Its supporters want results and influence. Its critics are waiting for any sign of betrayal. The ANC, meanwhile, must adjust to sharing space it once monopolized. Old habits of command and control will not work in this arrangement. The public, too, is adjusting. South Africans are now seeing a different kind of governance, slower, more negotiated, less decisive. For some, that's frustrating. For others, it's a welcome shift from the arrogance of majority rule. What matters most is whether this new political configuration can deliver. Will service delivery improve? Will corruption be tackled? Will municipalities work better? Can this coalition survive long enough to make a difference? South Africa's history teaches us that political change is often painful but necessary. In 1994, the country chose reconciliation over revenge. In 2024, it chose pluralism over blind loyalty. That choice is not just political, it's cultural. A new generation of voters is emerging, one less tied to liberation nostalgia and more focused on outcomes. They are tired of excuses. They don't care who fought in the struggle. They want electricity, safety, education, and jobs. They are willing to try new combinations if it means a better life. And their message is clear: parties must adapt or die. There is no going back. The age of dominant party rule in South Africa is over. Coalition politics is here, and it's not going anywhere. Some say it's chaos. Others say it's democracy maturing. Both might be true. Because democracy is not supposed to be neat. It's meant to reflect the diversity and disagreement of the people it serves. And in South Africa, that diversity is vast, complex, and often painful. Still, within the uncertainty lies opportunity. A coalition government can, if managed well, bring innovation, accountability, and broader representation. It can end the culture of impunity and patronage. But it can also collapse into infighting, paralysis, and endless blame games. The future depends on how political leaders respond, whether they rise to the moment or retreat into pettiness. Cyril Ramaphosa's leadership will be tested like never before. This is no longer the honeymoon period of the new dawn. This is the long, hard slog of building trust, managing competing interests, and delivering actual governance. The DA, too, must prove that it can be more than an opposition party, that it can govern in a way that earns legitimacy beyond its traditional base. The IFP, good, and others must show that they're not just passengers in a political ride, but meaningful contributors to national progress. There is no blueprint for what South Africa is doing now. There are only choices, made every day in parliament, in cabinet, in provinces and municipalities. Choices that will either deepen democracy or break it. This is a moment that demands maturity, humility, and vision. And that's exactly what we'll be covering here on SA Unfiltered. We don't spin. We break it down. We bring you the politics, the tension, the real decisions behind the headlines. Because right now, South Africa isn't just watching history, it's making it. So,